Have you ever had one of those days in your business where you've woken up and all of a sudden you're in the middle of a reality check and the big idea that you're working on suddenly doesn't look that possible? Well, you're not alone, obviously. In business, like in life, you have to take some calculated risks. Not everything's going to work out, but that doesn't mean to say you should quit just straight away. Maybe you might need to take some time out to have a look at that idea from a completely different perspective. And sometimes those perspectives can come straight away and you can solve the problem. Or maybe you might need to give it a break for a few weeks or months and then look at it again with a completely new set of eyes. The problem that a lot of us business people have is that we can tend to be eternal optimists. And the problem with eternal optimism is sometimes we don't see the cracks and the problems with our ideas, and we can get really hyped up with the idea ourselves. I mean, I know this myself. I get some good ideas. I haven't probably thought it through, but already I've escalated that idea so far down the track that I think, yeah, this is going to make me blah, blah, blah. It's going to work really well. It's going to do this. It's going to do that. And I may have not seen the full picture. So what I do need sometimes is to take a bit of a break and then move forward from there. Think about it yourself. You're in business, you've got a great idea, and you want to make that idea work in your business. And I don't know whether you've been running a business for a long time or you're just a beginner, but the chances are that sometimes those ideas do need an outside check, and we're often the most reluctant to check some of those ideas out. Like, for instance, just this week alone, I had checked with one particular idea that I was working on with a few friends who, as it turns out, I probably asked all the friends that gave me the confirmation bias. You know, the ones that I knew that would probably agree with the idea, but I didn't check the idea with some people who probably might throw the idea into a bit of cold water and test it under different circumstances. And I feel that could also be the case that maybe sometimes you need to look at this too, in case you go down a dark alley that you're not aware of, because you're only listening to the voices that agree with you. And likewise, I was listening to the voices that agreed with me, rather than taking a bit of a somber look at it and say, maybe there's a few things I haven't thought of. I need to take a step back and think it through a little bit more and see if there's a few things here that I can check and maybe do things differently. In this particular case, I was looking at my idea and saying, okay, how about I just test this in stages rather than go the whole hog and then test, measure, find out what the results are in the meantime, and then get excited about those results rather than trying to forecast, you know, an Excel spreadsheet of lots of profits way down the track when I probably don't even know that that's the case, and I might be putting myself inadvertently into some financial deep water, which of course, as we know, we don't want to put ourselves into financial deep water. And it's very easy to do if you get overcommitted. And that's the problem too. If it's an area that you haven't tested yet, getting overcommitted can be very tough. I had this situation myself with a telemarketing business many years ago where things initially went really, really, really well. And then towards the end of the year, because I got so committed with around about 7 staff, I had to find the money to keep those mouths fed by giving them work. In the process, I wound up discounting my prices quite severely to the point where I was barely making a profit, if at all, and maybe even running a little bit into the red on my bank account. And as a result, yes, I kept my staff rather than minimising my staff when I couldn't get the work and maybe make it a little bit more casual rather than trying to hang on to everybody for dear life. And I think that sometimes this can happen with an idea. We can get so hung up on it that we don't see the reality of what that idea is costing us. And maybe taking a step back, you can look at different things there and say, well, okay, how could I do this better? Is there somebody who's solved this particular problem before it becomes a problem? Because that's what you need to do with your idea. But ultimately, you won't be able to put out every spot fire or think of every particular problem that you've got with your idea. That's not what being in business or being an entrepreneur is about. Being an entrepreneur is about solving problems. It's about creating something from nothing. It's about giving an idea a go even when you're not fully prepared. Yes, that is quite correct. However, sometimes with an idea, it's worthwhile taking a step back and then retrospectively thinking, okay, how can I look at this from a different angle? How can I look at it from a different perspective? How can I take my ego out of the picture a little bit, just so that I can understand and appreciate things that I'm not listening to, and even ask for an opinion that is not going to agree with mine, and find out, okay, somebody else is in a completely different field, what are they going to think of the idea, and to see if they can bring up some ideas or thoughts that I haven't first thought of. That's what you need to do with your idea. Give it a go. Let me know in the comments what you think.